NMG presents Behind the Music with Alex Elbro.
Hello, I'm Alex Elbro and welcome to Behind the Music. In this series, we look beyond the music to discover the life, the passion and the stories behind the artists we love. I'll be sitting down with musicians to explore what shapes them, what inspires them and how their personal story is woven into their music. And today I'm talking to Luke James Williams. Now Luke is an indie folk singer-songwriter and released his EP Drove in November 2018. And he subsequently released 2 albums to critical acclaim. His latest album, Lime's Hotel, was released in April, and Luke has kindly agreed to come in mid-tour to talk about what's going on in his life. Great to see you, Luke.
Yeah, you too, Alex.
Now, Luke, before we start talking about kind of what's been going on in the last couple of years, can we go right back? Yeah. And what were your first thoughts of music? When were you first aware of music being around you? Were your family very musical or anything like that?
Yeah, it's always music in the house, like as a kid. My parents didn't play, but my dad used to sing a lot. And he's got a pretty decent voice actually. But yeah, always sort of whenever we're in the car was always well stocked with cassette tapes and so especially sort of on any journey, in fact, there was always music on in wherever we were going. But then especially sort of fond memories of sort of family holidays and stuff like that. And sort of if Dad got sort of a new CD, it'd be my job to put it onto a cassette so we could play it in the car and stuff like that. And so yeah, just always music around. And yeah, my parents sort of watched a lot of like live concert VHSs and stuff like that.
Did they go to gigs?
Yeah, they used to go to gigs as well. And
did they take you along?
Yeah, take me to gigs as well. So kind of always had that. And then I think when I showed sort of more than probably like a casual interest in just listening, they kind of said, would you like, I think I had like a little toy piano and stuff like that. And then they sort of said, oh, would you like a guitar? And then eventually that progressed to sort of having some lessons. And so I started out learning like nylon string classical guitar and did a few grades.
Did you do that at school or did you do it outside of school?
No, outside of school, yeah. So I had a tutor in Hitchin and he used to run sort of like group lessons kind of thing. I went with a friend of mine. Yeah. And I did that for quite a few years and sort of did a few grades. And then I started to learn drums actually as well. Yes. So again, I was really fortunate that once I sort of expressed an interest in learning a second instrument, then my parents sort of through friends of a friend knew a tutor, and so I started on that.
So were you doing both then?
Yeah, I was doing both for a while, but I stopped the kind of formal grades in guitar basically once I got to my upper school and met friends and formed a band. Then kind of that's when I wanted to I started playing electric guitar and we started gigging and things.
And
like
I guess also that gives you a really good grounding in where the notes are, what the chords are, and that sort of side of it. Before then you can just take it off to do what you want with
100%. And the weird thing is like, so I still play a nylon string guitar. Like,
okay.
So, and that's kind of the instrument that I've always kind of tended to write my songs on. So in a funny way, it's kind of gone full circle. Really.
But I guess as you get older, you kind of listen for a sound more than what the thing, oh, well, I want to play electric guitar because I'm in a band. So therefore, it'll be different for different moods, won't it, or whatever you think.
Definitely.
So, who were your influences, or who were your parents playing that you enjoyed? Can you remember even?
Yeah. So they played a lot of the Beatles and like Buddy Holly and Roy Orbison and the Everly Brothers, but a massive one for us and our kind of family was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of like our family band, kind of in a way. Yeah. Tom Petty is an artist that was, so means so much to us, like as a family, and as I say, accompanied us on many long road trips and holidays and stuff like that. And I got to see them sort of while it's obviously sadly Tom Petty died sort of quite a few years ago now, but I managed to see him a few times with my mum and dad, which was really special.
I was going to say that must be amazing.
Yeah. Some really fond memories of gigs.
And was that at festivals or was that at gigs or a bit of both?
No, we didn't see him. So we saw him the very first time was at Shepherd's Empire, which is one of my favourite venues.
Yeah, nice.
That was so that was like one of their gigs as part of the Echo album tour. And then we saw them a few years later at the Royal Albert Hall again, which was one of their shows. And then we saw them the third time again, it was a Tom Petty gig, but it was part of the Hyde Park Calling. So it was kind of like a day-long festival, but which they were the headliners. So.
Yeah, I mean, those things, you get really good bands, don't you?
It was incredible, yeah. We discovered, it was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers headlining, Stevie Nicks supported. So of course, then Stevie went on, because they do a few duets together. Yeah. So she got up with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. But yeah, we discovered an amazing band that day called The Head and the Heart, who we'd not known before,
I don't know them.
And they're fantastic. And so, and we all love them now. So nice.
Brilliant, it's excellent. So you're saying then that you went from nylon string classical, then you were playing electric guitar, and then but did you start learning drums though while you were still doing the classical guitar?
No, I think it was probably around the sort of same time when I stopped sort of playing. And I'd say I stopped playing classical guitar. I always still had my classical guitar at home. It's just I stopped doing the sort of formal lessons and grades and things. Yeah. And as I say, I kind of generally at home, I think probably my nylon string guitar was probably still the one I would pick up and knock about on kind of thing.
So when did you at that point prefer one of them? You said you were in a band in your upper school. So what age was that? About 15?
So 14? I went to I met kind of the guys that I was ended up in a band with. It would have been about 14 years old. Yeah. So.
And that was on electric guitar.
And
what was the name of the band then? Can you remember?
Well, the band was originally called Insomnia, and we sort of went through to sort of our kind of when we were doing our A levels, I think, and then the band. Then when we were sort of taking things a bit more seriously, the drummer left, and we sort of went through a few changes musically, and then we became a band called the October Game, which was kind of our band, and we released 3 albums together.
Wow.
And
that
was that really takes right through to when I started releasing my own music. So
was there a moment when you thought, I want to take this mine, or was it just like you want to go in a different direction musically?
Yeah, no, we basically, because we started and we like as Insomnia, we were kind of teenagers, and then kind of the October Game was kind of like late teens to kind of basically to our late 20s, and basically by the time we'd kind of grown in a couple of members, so we ended up as a 5-piece, but 5 guys all in their late 20s, all starting to go off and move elsewhere and things like that. It just became like a bit of a logistical nightmare, really. Like I sort of seemed to find more time kind of managing the band logistically than actually creating. And I think there were a few things, but I think we were all so amicable, and we're still the best of friends. I mean, Nick, even we still work together, and he produced and mixed the latest album. He produced and recorded my first album, and he helped me mix my first EP. Okay. We still work together all the time, and we've done the odd gig where we've got back together to celebrate the anniversary of an album and stuff like that. But it just really felt like over the course of the 3 albums, it had kind of run its natural course. And at that point, I really thought I was going to take a step back from music, which is what always, I think, what often happens is, I just thought I kind of fancy a bit of a change. It coincided because the band was kind of doing okay, so none of us had actually decided to go to university. So I was doing a degree with the Open University whilst working.
Okay.
And I did that, but basically once I'd finished my degree with the OU, I decided I wanted to go sort of travel. I did it in languages and sort of focusing on Spanish.
Because that's something I saw recently. There was one fact or whatever it was that you don't know about you, and it was like you speak Spanish. Which is very cool.
So
was it more than one language?
Well, essentially, so it was Spanish, and I did all the Spanish modules with the OU, but then basically I worked out that if I did a few English language modules, then it would turn into a degree. I didn't actually set out to do a degree. I just set out to learn Spanish and to do all the modules through the Open University. But by the time I'd done that, I was kind of like, well, and especially because I sort of saw the end of the band and I didn't kind of know what to do, and I thought, well, it will be handy. And it was super interesting as well. I loved the English modules, and so I completed that. But once I'd actually sort of finished my degree, I kind of wanted to go away, and it kind of coincided with the release of our 3rd album and stuff like that. And we knew we weren't going to gig much because we sort of knew it was sort of the end of the band. So I went away. I travelled and worked in Spain for a while, and
which also really good for your Spanish, isn't it?
It's the best thing you can do. And I would say, I love languages, and I would encourage anyone, if they've got an interest in a particular culture or a particular language, to throw themselves into trying to learn it. You can do an awful lot of learning from books and from online and things like that, but there's no substitute for being there.
No.
Like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So no, it was really great. I felt confident in Spanish because I did a lot of outside, like I had like a Skype friend who was learning English.
Perfect,
So we'd meet every week and online. And I used to, watch tons of sort of Spanish and South American films. I used to listen to the radio and stuff like that. So I feel I went above and beyond my studies, but it wasn't really until I spent a good chunk of time both in Spain and South America that I really felt my level kind of picked up.
And so you were saying then that you felt it was like the natural end to the band, and then you like, oh, I'm going to take a step back from music.
Yeah.
But is that because you were thinking, oh, the band's finished then, so you probably didn't think then of doing a different thing, like, oh, I'm going to do, all right, then that's not the direction I want to do, but I want to do something else. You didn't think, well, actually, I'm going to just start writing stuff myself.
It was just purely like when I went to Spain, I just took my guitar with me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I just found myself just natural. And it actually was really freeing, not writing for anything in particular.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where that freedom, I think, really turned into a really creative time. I mean, I think travel is obviously an extremely inspiring thing. Mm-hmm. Just being in a different situation, being away from home. I think it just really gave me a lot of, and I had a lot of spare time, and obviously I wasn't with my family or friends, so I did have quite a lot of spare time. So I just found myself just picking up my guitar more and more, and I just found these songs coming out. But again, really with no thought of what to do with them. I was just writing them, and I didn't know whether I was maybe would form another band or whatever, really. Yeah. And it was really when I got home, when we kind of came home after our travels, and I'd kind of amassed like a fair few songs. And a good friend of mine, Steve Smither, who's really sadly no longer with us, he was the former performance director at Rhythms of the World Festival in Hitchin, which was like a big festival that we used to, it was like the largest, like one of the largest like world music festivals. Wow. And whilst it was still in the town centre, I think it was the largest world music festival, free world music festival. But he was a performance director for a few years, and he was doing a gig for Oxjam, like as a fundraiser before the event. And he said to me, like, I'd love you to come and play a solo gig. And that just really gave me the nudge I needed. Yeah. As I say, I'd never had any thoughts of playing my own stuff, but when he invited me, I just thought, well, I've got these songs, and maybe, it doesn't have to be anything, but I'll go and do it and see how it feels, and loved it.
And were you writing songs before, like when you were in the bands before?
Yeah,
were you writing songs, but were you doing those collaborative? Oh, you were okay.
Yeah, I'd say that principal songwriter, myself and Nick, like we used to like. I was really proud of a lot of the guitar parts we wrote. We used to play guitar together, and whilst principally, I guess I was the rhythm guitar player and he was the lead guitar. A lot of our parts sort of were quite intricate and sort of like interweaved. And so Nick and I were the main songwriters, but the other guys got heavily involved, more so than other times in other songs. And especially as we actually got through to the third album, it actually had become quite a lot more collaborative with all of us chipping in ideas.
So when you were asked to do this solo, was your first thought, I've got to have to use some of the other to make up a whole solo set? Well,
a little bit as well. I don't think I actually ended up. I think I actually only played one song from the band.
Okay.
I think I had enough songs. Yeah. But I think it was that because everyone had only ever known me do like the October Game, and it was the gig was in Hitchin. Yeah. And so it felt right to just do one. Yeah. But I definitely didn't want it to become Luke's just playing the songs without the band kind of thing, because we were, as I say, especially the guitar parts with Nick, like the way that the two guitars kind of intertwined and worked together. Like I didn't, I've not done it an awful lot.
Yeah, I think it's hard for, especially going the other way, if singer-songwriters that then have a band and then produce an album for a band, and then you go to gig it and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, now am I gonna get the band back for the live gigs, or do I have to do an acoustic version, which can be fantastic in its own right, but not always what people have listened to if they don't know you very well. So I think that, and just going back to languages and doing English modules and travelling, that surely must feed into your writing and being able to write things creatively.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always loved writing lyrics, and it's a part of songwriting, which I really enjoy. Like I really enjoy playing around with words and phrases and yeah, I think just when you, I think, as I say, I think travel and I think languages especially, like I think they're just great sources of inspiration, and it gets you to think about words and language in a different way as well. So
yeah, I think it's probably about time to have your first video.
Sure.
Now these are all going to be taken from the new album,
yeah,
and they've all got a really cinematic styles that maybe you want to talk about a little bit now, but we can talk about a bit later.
Sure.
So first one we're going to do is Seeds, which was the first single from
the
album. Yeah. So
yeah.
do you want to?
Yeah. So it was, Seeds, was the first single that I shared from the album, and I think it was a great one really to share first, because it kind of does encapsulate some of the sort of overarching lyrical themes on the album about sort of the cycles of life and death, and kind of taking comfort in nature, and kind of the hope that on some level at some time that you'll be reunited on whatever way with the people that are closest to you. And yeah, I sort of ended up meeting up with an old school friend. We went to school many years sort of ago together, and fantastic photographer, and he was kind of on the lookout for.
What's his name?
His name's Matthew Oaten, and he'd been doing a lot of kind of photography, and he's involved in quite a lot of like technical roles on sort of film sets and things like that. And it just so happened that he was really itching to do something a bit more creative and something sort of that he was in charge of. And so it ended up, we were only actually meant to end up doing that. I kind of really only had visions of doing that first track.
Yeah, just to launch like
kind
this
of,
is a teaser kind of thing, yeah.
But then he was just like, sort of, Matt said to me, can I do the other videos? And I was like, absolutely. Like I love the way it was so weird, even on that first. I don't think we'd seen each other in 10 years, and it was literally just like seeing an old friend, like the moment. And I don't know why I've done this to myself. Both the album shoot and the video shoot, we were shooting at sunrise. So like, there's been some early starts, but literally the whole day through the shoot, like every time Matt would be like, "Oh, I really like this," and he'd show me it in the viewfinder, and I'd be like, "Yeah, perfect." Like we're just so on the same, much on the same wavelength. So it was
really
a joy to work with him.
Yeah. And so we're going to play that now.
Yeah.
This is Seeds.
Down here amongst the seeds, underground, will you wait for me? Fallen leaves don't just fade to black. It's unthinkable to think of that. When our pages torn, we are thoughts reborn. What would you make of me now? Supposing you could somehow, if I said this is all I'll be, would you believe me? Would you believe me? There are no starts, there are no ends, and one day we will meet again, 'cause our roots don't disappear, they're out of sight, but always near. What would you make of me now? Supposing you could somehow, if I said this is all I'll be, underground. Will you wait for me?
So that was Seeds, and that's taken from the Limes Hotel, sorry, I should say, which we'll go on to talk about a bit later, as that's the current album that you're touring at the moment, aren't you? But I want to get back to was there a pivotal time, or what was it when you'd come back and you were asked to do this solo that you were like, okay, I've travelled now, I've done this, I've got to think about what my next phase is. Was that when you thought, I'm going to have a life in music?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think, as I say, I really fully expected to have a step back.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I think when I went away and I wrote all those songs, I was just like, this isn't something I can leave behind. I think whatever I do in my life, whether I take it more seriously or whether it's just a hobby, I think that was the moment at which, and it was while I was away, that I think at that point, I think I never realised how much of a good friend music was, kind of thing. I think, I wouldn't say I took it for granted, but it definitely was the point at which I kind of thought, well, this is always going to be with me. And then, I guess it really was the gig, the Oxjam gig, when I did my first sort of getting up there on stage on my own for the first time, and it being absolutely terrifying. But
it's very different, isn't it? Being on your own up there from a band, and also showing your own music, not up there doing covers.
And also I was in front of people that had seen me with the band as well, and it was kind of one of those things you kind of get in your own head. You just think, oh gosh, are people just going to think, oh, it's not as good as when it's with the band.
He's all right,
I was so blown away. People were so encouraging, and so I think, at that point I just knew, well, let's just do let's think about this kind of batch of songs, and obviously by that time I had played some of them live, kind of thing, and then I just started to think about recording my first. Because at that point
they were just there.
Yeah, they were just. I probably had some voice note demos of them and stuff like that, but that's all there was really.
Yeah.
And actually, the first thing I did was I decided just to record one song on its own, which was a song which didn't end up on Drove actually, but a song called Jenny Writes Letters, which was one of the first ones and I played that at that gig. So I think I just did it really as just a test. I wanted to test my own little home setup, and so I did everything myself. I sort of obviously wrote and recorded it, but I ended up mixing and mastering it as well, and just put it out on my Bandcamp page, just so I had something there. And then I think at that point, again, I was lucky to have a lot of encouragement. And then I just thought, well, this setup works, and so I ended up recording the first EP.
I'm guessing also because you'd already done 3 albums with the band, so you knew the process and you knew what it took to create that. So you weren't like, oh, I'm just going to get up and start recording stuff of my own. No, and I'd always had a home setup, because I did when I did my A levels, I did music technology A levels, so I kind of have. I'm definitely not very technical, but I know the basics enough to record, and I know what I like as well. So it's in terms of producing, of producing it was I had a clear idea of what I wanted it to sound like, and then so I just ended up upgrading the valve in my mic, and I bought a new preamp and stuff. So I made a couple of little sort of amendments to my sort of upgrades, I guess, to my rig, and then I recorded it all. And then at that point, I said to my friend Nick from the October Game, who's a brilliant producer, I said, this is kind of where I am at with it. And he was just like, well, I think it sounds great, but if you want, come into the studio with all the stems and we'll just try and push things just a bit further. We'll do... What's Nick's surname?
Nick Kozuk.
Yes.
So he just really helped me just take what was there, but then we just experimented a bit in the studio. We sort of reamped some of the guitars and changed some of the guitar tones, and he kind of helped me with some sort of bells and whistles production wise and things like that.
Were you playing drums on that as well, or was this just
percussion? There's some percussion on there.
Right, okay.
And to be honest with you, because I do play drums, but I don't think on any of the songs I've ever played drum kit. It's always been layering it up.
Yes.
So I'd sort of lay down a bass drum part, and then it'd be some shakers and some tambourines and things like that. We sort of built that up in that way. And then so Nick helped me sort of do some additional production on Drove and mixed it as well, and then we had someone else master it, and then that was kind of it, the first EP ready to go. So.
Yeah, and that was Drove. In 2018 it came out.
Yes, yeah, so sort of end of 2018.
Did you start gigging that then, or were you already gigging it then?
I was gigging little bits and bobs before then, but that's when it really started.
And that's when I first saw you around that time.
Yeah,
you were supporting Megson, who were also another fantastic band. Amazing duo, and I feel very fortunate that Stu's become sort of a good mate as well off the back of that kind of thing. Yeah. It was the start, and I remember it clearly. So I was doing a little joint tour with my friend Andy Mort, who goes under the name Atlam Schema. So that was a little first tour in support of Drove. Mm-hmm. And I remember I think it was maybe it was the second to last date, and I was sat in my car outside a pub. We'd had a venue cancel on us in Leamington. We ended up having to move it to this pub beforehand, and there was nowhere just to have a few minutes before the gig sort of thing. So I remember just going. That's the beauty of early gigs, isn't it? No green room,
I remember sitting in my car and having a few moments to myself, and I remember the message came through I think on my Facebook Messenger or something like that, from Stu saying, would you like to support us at the J2? And I mean, at that time, that was just wow. I'd heard of Megson, but never had the opportunity to either sort of see them play or meet them or anything like that. And it just really kicked off the start. I mean, that gig itself was a massive lift for me, especially locally, getting to play to a sold out J2 room, to the amount of people locally around in and around Cambridge. So that was a massive, just a massive thing. Well, I remember because
we often, we knew Megson and we were going to see Megson, but I will always, when I can, get to see a support, and this is why it's the beauty of seeing a support. The people that are you're going to see generally picked the people, and so they're never going to pick someone that they don't like. Yeah. And you often get to see such fantastic support. So anyone out there, always try and go and see a support. And and it's so lovely for the person to go and not see all the chairs empty and people just wandering in 3/4 of the way through because they can't be bothered and they only want to see the main act. It's value for money as well. Yeah, definitely. But I remember being absolutely blown away by your music. We were both me and my husband, we were just wow, because I don't think we'd heard anything. It was, you did your way with words, I feel, is second to none, and the way you craft your songs to really give you the ultimate. I mean, there's always tears, but then there's also a lot of uplift as well. Yeah. So, did you get that back from the audience at the time? Yeah, I mean, it was at that moment. It's still that gig lives really, as a really wonderful memory, to be honest with you. And I think it was the first time, and especially as well because that stage and that room is just an absolute joy to play in. So I think the combination of really playing on a wonderful stage with wonderful sound, feeling like I was playing really well, and the audience really getting it, it was just that. I think it was probably the first gig that I'd had where it really felt like that, and it really made me just want to do that more. Yeah. I think it's one of my favourite venues for that reason. 100%. It's just such and I think you do get people that go to, especially folk gigs, are generally very supportive and will sit and absolutely absorb it in. Yeah. But equally, that can be quite daunting, isn't it, when you're out trying to make a bit of banter in between and everyone's just sort of hanging on every word. I think it's probably quite hard. Yeah, well, it's equal. I often say it to polite audiences. It's kind of equal parts, well, not quite equal parts. It's kind of slightly terrifying, but absolutely lovely as well. More lovely than terrifying. You hope. No, it definitely always is. But it's. I think you learn to live. I'm sort of become quite comfortable with silence now. But I like as well. It's one of those things with time and with experience, you get better at being able to talk to an audience and things like that, and sussing how to talk to an audience. And I think being often a singer-songwriter that's there on your own, or maybe with one or two other people, when you've got the band, you are a bit protected that, maybe you'll have a front person and maybe they'll do the talking, or you might do a bit of banter between you or whatever. When you're on your own, you've got to talk to the audience, else it's all going on in your head, isn't it? Yeah, so, definitely. And I mean, I think you joked on when I've seen you recently play, that, you know, half the time, especially for folk musicians, they've got to do a lot of tuning.
Yeah.
And so you've got to try to work out a way that you can tune and talk at the same time, which I feel is a skill in itself.
Yeah, no, and so, as time goes on, I seem to put my guitar in weirder and weirder tuning, so apologies for anyone that comes to see me play.
But I mean, I love people that talk in between. I don't really want to go. I know some people just can't do the talking in between, and that's fine. But I love it when people give us a bit more of themselves when you go. Otherwise, you could just listen to it at home.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. I think it's important to strike a balance, and I think as well. I think it depends, like stylistically. I think it depends what you're. I guess kind of what you're looking, what you want the audience to feel. I guess in a way, like. I feel like my songs I've always tried to just be as honest as I can. Like, and like a lot of my songs are, you know, do tackle some quite heavy subjects and stuff like that. But like, generally, like I like a laugh, like, and you know, I'm not like a very serious person sort of thing. So like,
but if you listen to just the music, you might get that
exactly. And so I think when, so like you say, it's a chance for you to show a different side to yourself and to paint more of a rounded picture kind of thing. And I mean, and that's just my preference. I mean, some people might choose to get up and not say a word, and that's their thing.
Exactly.
And that's totally.
And I think some people don't want to have a different persona from their music when they're on stage. They become that person, and that's them. But I like to see the little cracks, and not the cracks as in, but just to see behind that and see who the person is, and you know why they're writing what they do, and I feel it all adds to the kind of realness of it all. I think again, I'm very lucky to have seen the first gig of this tour, which again I keep saying we'll come back to. I keep teasing it, but. You'd said some of the songs which were quite heavy and, you know, not heavy but quite emotional, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to lighten up a bit now, and played one of your songs, Punchback, which is about, you know, taken from having the face that
face was crying out for a fist in it,
which is kind of you could say that, I mean it is. The term is tongue-in-cheek, but what you're tackling isn't particularly light. But it made me laugh because you were like, well, let's go for a lighter song now. But I mean,
it's about as light as it gets.
Yeah, I was about to say, folk singers aren't really known for their jolly tunes anyway.
Yeah.
And so, how do you balance from that your creativity and process and your personal experiences? Or do you find that it just feeds in, and that's...
Yeah, I don't ever... It's... I'm not sure I've ever really gone out, like set out to write a particular type of song or tackle a particular subject kind of thing. I'd say, like, definitely I try to let things just happen quite naturally, sort of thing. And this is a weird one, right? Because, you can't just let things, you have to sit down, and you have to have the guitar there, and you have to have a pen and paper. But in terms of, I don't think I've ever like sat down and said, oh, I want to write a song about this, and like started to write about that. And it's more like, I guess, like when I come up with ideas, often like sometimes the music will start first, and then I kind of like will play that around and around and around, and kind of it kind of conjures images kind of thing in a way, and a feeling. And then I'll think about like a title of a song that I've had like on the back burner.
So you start with the music. The music comes to you first.
Yeah.
Do you have lots of voice notes?
Yeah,
and things?
hundreds. Yeah.
Is that how you? If you're walking along, or
totally.
Something comes to you.
Bits of If
you're travelling.
And definitely always used to be music first. But now I'd say sometimes the lyrical idea will come first. But it might only be the title of the song, say, or like just a line of lyric. So it's definitely more varied now. Whereas in the past, it always used to kind of be music first, really. And then as I say, I just end up sort of playing them, and they evolve. It's really interesting, actually, like going back through the voice notes and seeing kind of how the song has
changed.
Like from its first kind of like idea.
But do you find it helpful? I mean, I'm sure you do find it helpful, others wouldn't do it, but how much personality you want to put into it, or do you hold any back? Because I feel like sometimes you can lay yourself so bare that then you're putting it out to an audience, and then you're like, oh, hang on, please accept this, or else.
Yeah, it is. It can be tough, and I think you have to make a decision as to kind of how much of yourself you want to share, but also as well, like my song, I do try and be as honest as I can, but at the same time, I like to leave room in there for people to interpret it in their own way. I don't like to go and again, when talking about songs and what they mean, I'm always careful not to overshare, because I don't want to force my meaning and interpretation of the song onto someone else. I think that's one of the really beautiful things about songs, is that sometimes two people can have completely different sort of interpretations of it and meanings for them, sort of thing. So I think it's about, as I say, I've always tried to, take a song like, for example, like Hollows and Branches, like on the new album, like there's some really specific detail in there for me, but there's no names, there's no dates, there's no places, there's nothing. Like, I think the words that are used there people could take and make their own, and sort of and so I'm always conscious that I want to leave space for the listener to.
I think that's the clever way of writing, is to you're putting your personal things into it, but you're not saying, I went down the road and I saw this, and because you have a good way of writing metaphors or just phrases that they say. There's no time, place or people in it, but you can kind of, like you say, then interpret it. So my interpretation, like you say, could be completely different than what I take from it. But that's the beauty again, isn't it?
Yeah,
of it.
For me, I like that. I like, and I've always tried to just create a good bit of room in there. That kind of.
Now we'll play in a minute your Hollows and Branches you've just mentioned. That's from the new album as well. I know we're jumping backwards and forwards, but it makes complete sense.
Sure.
For Hollows and Branches, well, for the whole album, can you explain? You said about you see, when you write music, you see images and you get that. Now, I think that's fed into the name of the album and also how you wanted the looks, because Matty did all of these, didn't he? And there is a definite look to them, but they're very different in what they do. So do you want to just give us a bit of news on that one?
I think Matt just really, his style really fit with my style. I think it was he didn't go out of his way to change the way that he likes to shoot things. Like, he likes things to be very natural. He doesn't really use a lot of artificial light, if any. I don't think, really.
Hence getting up at sunrise.
Yeah, exactly. He really tries to keep things very real and very natural. He uses like some sort of vintage gear as well, because he likes the kind of sort of grain that you get and things like that. I think he really understood like a lot of the sort of references to the natural world and stuff like that. So a lot of, basically every video pretty much has kind of, sort of a lot of the natural world in it as well. And so those colours, I think it just really fits the lyrical imagery and the kind of whole vibe of the album, really. I
think you mentioned before that you love cinematography, you like cinema and how films are. So is that the kind of look you were going for the album, or for the videos, or both? Yeah,
well, so the album title kind of came, I guess, kind of. I knew the songs kind of thing, obviously with the first thing, and then really once in the recording process, I knew, well, I need to give this thing a name, kind of thing.
Okay, so you hadn't decided on that?
No, I didn't have the name. No. And so it was weirdly, I was doing some voice notes at home, like some demos, acoustic demos, really to share with Nick before we started on the recording proper, just to demonstrate the basic bare bones of the songs. And like on my phone, if you don't label a voice note, it comes up with the geolocation.
Okay.
And I was in my house and it came up with this geolocation of Limes Hotel. And I was like, that's weird. The name really struck me, and I just thought, well, that's really odd. Like, and I know where our house is built, it was on an old school. Oh. And I looked around a bit, like locally, to try and find this, if there was ever this like Limes Hotel. Our neighbour's house is called the Limes, but it's not like a hotel, never has been. And so it just really stuck with me. And then I started to think about the parallels. As I say, like, a lot of the overarching themes are kind of about life and death and life cycles, and the idea of a hotel and people checking in and checking out. And then it started conjuring images of like, oh, okay, well, like, it's kind of this fictional place, but it gives the album like a location, but not a real location. Yeah. And then it started to just really gave me something to, once you got that, all the ideas just started flying everywhere. I was speaking to my friend Julian about what we would do for the cover shot.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic photographer. And so, yeah, it kind of all just kind of snowballed from there, really. And I just really felt that the songs, the album title, the cover art, everything was pulling in the same direction. And then basically, when I approached Matt, I knew that his style was going to fit so well with it. And I'm just really pleased with how the whole thing has come together. Like, I'm just really proud of the overall art direction of the entire album kind of thing. I'm super proud.
So it sounded like, I mean, excuse the pun, but it was very organic in a way. So that worked very well for what the themes of it are. Yeah,
and I'm glad. Like, it's funny, you know, because like things do take me a while, but like I think because I will sit and wait for it to feel right, which sometimes can take a while, and life gets in the way and things like that. And I think whenever I've gone against my intuition, I've always regretted it. Like, and I think with every single, with the first EP, with the first album, and with this latest one, I think I've tried to wait until it felt right. And yeah, I guess that's not necessarily the way to be the most productive, like in terms of getting stuff out. But like, as the result is when I look back, there's not one decision really I made that I regret. That, like, I'm super proud of the whole lot, which is a nice feeling, especially sort of given the time frames involved. Yeah, you don't want to be going, oof, that one. Yeah, no, I'm still really happy to play songs from the first EP, and I'm still, you know, happy to share it and stuff. So we're going to play Hollows and Branches now. Do you want to say any more about it, or just let people listen? And I reckon just let people listen. Yeah, okay, let's do that.
I'll never forget the mischief in your face, red kites and rainbows and endless days. You told me rich isn't happy and sad isn't poor. Love's one of few things worth fighting for. You showed me planets I'd never seen. You said I should slow down when I eat. I'd never known nature so loud and so true. I always knew that the stars were waiting for you. You said I still don't know where I'm headed, but I hope the waters aren't this rough again. When I'm long from this world, too far to be seen, in the hollows and branches you will find me. In the hollows and branches you will find me. I remember the call to say you'd taken flight. I don't think we'll ever forget that night. So I came with my true love close at my side. But I never needed to say goodbye. You said I still don't know where I'm headed, but I hope the waters aren't this rough again. When I'm long from this world, too far to be seen, in the hollows and branches you will find me. In the hollows and branches you will find me. When I think of you now, I can't help but smile. Painting your colors across the sky, I imagine you flying with innocent grace, no longer bound by time and space.
So that was Hollows and Branches, taken from this latest album. Now we're going to jump back again to from when you released the EP in Drove in 2018, and then you sort of started taking off again with gigging and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, yeah, 2018 was the release of the EP, and then I did some gigging, and then really I started to think about recording a full album, because by that time I'd amassed quite a lot more songs.
Yeah.
And we managed to just record sort of a couple, sort of off the back. I was quite lucky with my with one of the songs off of Drove. Tom Robinson at Six Music picked up on it, and that
he's
was sort
been
of
a
in
big
the
supporter since, hasn't he?
He was, yeah, and he was a supporter of my old band. So that's kind of how.
Right, okay.
So I was
at
quite
least
lucky
you already
that I
knew,
had that kind of. I was on his radar already.
Of course.
And so that was in kind of the April of 2019. And it was great. Like, he made it like the track of the week and stuff like that, and that really helped to get sort of some bigger gigs, and really it definitely greased the wheels in terms of, you know, and it helped.
Didn't
really
you support
helped me.
him as well?
I have done, yeah. After that, yeah, and he invited me, like I think in the September of that year, he actually invited me to be the guest on his show on the Saturday night on Six Music.
Yeah.
And it really, again, a little bit like the Megson gig did.
Yeah.
Sort of like it really just opened out to a much wider audience. And so yeah, but then basically at the tail end of 2019 started to record songs for the album. But then basically we managed to finish 2 songs, but basically in early 2020 we all know
that
what
was
happened.
It. Yeah,
So it really put the brakes on everything. Couldn't record for months. I mean, thankfully I got the 2 songs. I got the first 2 songs on the album, This Says and Blood Jump, that we'd finished those, so I could get those done, and I kind of released those as singles. But that was in 2020. The album didn't actually end up being finished and come out till 2 years later.
Yeah.
So it was a really strange time, as it, you know, obviously it was for everyone. But it was really sort of, yeah, it's just the way it worked. But it sort of really felt like there was a lot of momentum, and then all of a sudden it sort of really stopped.
And I think you weren't the only one, unfortunately. It's like so many people you go to gigs and they're like, guess what? I released my debut album the week that we got shut down or whatever.
Exactly.
You know,
I mean, I know people, I mean, I guess in some ways I'm lucky that we'd only done a couple of songs. So it allowed us to do those couple of songs. But I mean, I know people that literally put their album out like in that March and then just couldn't gig it.
No.
And then by the time they were ready to gig again, it was like old news. It was like they couldn't really talk about that album anymore, really, in a way. So it was, we were all in the same boat. It was, you know, and, you know, in the grand scheme of things, thankfully
but we didn't know at the time, did we? That's what I found hardest about that time.
Just the not knowing.
Was like, hang on a minute, if we don't get back to this, we'll have to do everything through a TV screen. And you know, it was useful at the time, and as best we could do, but crikey, I can remember going back to gigs afterwards and being absolutely, you know, looking up, thank you, whoever lets me do this, I will never take it for granted again, you know. So that Our Blood Is Red was that album, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that was released in the July, I think it was, of 2022.
So things were then getting back to kind of normal, that you could take that out. And how did that?
Yeah, and that was great. So I was lucky. Sort of had a couple of sort of like I sort of played at Cambridge Folk Club that year, and then I went out on kind of my first run of headline gigs in the kind of September. It was in the autumn. Sorry, of the sort of they span sort of September, October of 2022, and that was great because it sort of up until that point I'd always done sort of shared billing or been on festivals and things like that, which have all been brilliant. But these were the first time being booked in a room and I'm the headline act, and I just found it incredible. Like, really, really loved the experience. And
how do you find? So do you just go on your own, or do you take anyone with you for any of these?
So up until like I've been lucky to sort of be joined at the Harrison gig that you came to. I was really lucky to have Dear Wife who sings on a few songs on the album, so she came and played a support set, and I also played a couple of songs with her, and she got up and sang a couple of songs with me. But really, I think that's the first time I've ever really, in terms of my own gigs, I've really played with anyone else on my own stuff. I've done the odd bits of sort of collaboration stuff like that, but as part of like very different billings. But in terms of my own headline gigs, it's the first time, and it was really lovely.
Yeah.
And
Does that mean you have to travel around though on your own, and you have to be comfortable in your own?
Yeah, definitely. Which I am.
company.
Like and I try and make the gigs. It is just me with a guitar, but like I've sort of got. Playing drums, I've sort of got like a stomp box which I can use to add a bit more rhythm to certain songs. I use a tiny little bit of looping as well, just to try and give the set. I think you're asking a lot of an audience to concentrate on a guy on his guitar for an hour without any variation kind of thing. I've got a track which is based on the uke and stuff like that. So I do try and play with the light and shade and the kind of dynamics of a set kind of thing. But essentially, it is just me.
Yeah, yes, that can be the best and then the hard as well.
Yeah. But I definitely, it's definitely not through not wanting to. It's just logistics and as sort of as we spoke about earlier, from being in a band and basically being the one that was the logistics guy for 5 guys. The idea of having to do that again at this stage, it doesn't really appeal, to be honest with you. The really lovely thing was being able to do that thing like at the Harrison with Louise, dear wife. Because that again came about quite naturally, and it was lovely to be able to sing with her again.
Well, I discovered her from hearing through your music, and it was great to hear her.
And Antonia Kirby, who played an opening set, my gig in Coventry, she got up and sang with me as well. So things like that have been lovely. So I definitely would love to do a bit more of that.
Yeah. And do you think you see yourself in any collaborations in the future, or just you'll see how it works?
Yeah,
there's not anyone you've got your eye on that you would love. Who, like anyone? If you could collaborate with anyone, is there anyone that you would? I've thrown that one in.
Yeah. There's so many. I mean, a songwriter that I really love and been fortunate enough to sort of hang out with, and we're sort of in touch, is Amelia Coburn. I really feel like we've got like quite a similar way that we approach songs. Like hers are quite dark, but again she's got a cracking sense of humour, so she plays a lot with light and dark, and I feel like a lot of the way that she likes sort of strange chord progressions, and her songs go off in places you don't expect them to. And so I think probably, there's so many people, don't get me wrong, I've got so many amazing sort of friends and people I've been lucky enough to play with and stuff like that. But I think in terms of imagining... Have
you played with her before, or have you been...
No, we've never managed to do a gig together before.
Yeah, because I think she's doing
crossed.
something in the autumn. I think you have to, around here, you have to get you on there. I want to go back though, so you've been doing for that album, but how does your work and kind of day-to-day life, if you like, fit in with what you do with your music? Sure,
yeah. So I'm really fortunate. I work for some friends of mine. My friend Chris, he formed a company called New Noise Audio quite a few years ago, and it's basically creating bespoke music for adverts, film, TV, and stuff like that. I work mainly. I'd started doing sort of like freelance bits of composition and production for them, but now my role is kind of more on the sort of client-facing, brief-taking side.
Oh, okay.
But it's great. Like I get involved. We sort of produce like production music, like albums as well, and that's great because essentially that's just getting in a room with my mates and writing music sort of thing. So it's perfect. It's great, and it's kind of and often it takes me in different directions. I mean, we were given a brief to write a sort of an album. I think it was called like 80s Heroes, and it was like all like really big, like kind of sort of 80s stadium rock and power ballads and kind of and stuff like that. And it was. And sort of the sort of song, I think the brief loosely was the sort of songs you'd imagine on like classic 80s films.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so we almost the way we went about it is we almost thought of what the film would be and then wrote the song from there, kind of thing. So
they didn't want you to do covers of bands. No, it was just like an album.
Inspired, basically. Inspired by. So we ended up with a huge playlist of references, and we'd sort of think, oh, okay, we want to do a song which is a little bit like this or like that. Key change. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and all the sort of things. And we've done a few. We did like a 70s rock one. We've done like a new wave one. So yeah, they're really great. And that probably feeds into you said the way you see things in cinema or film. So it's probably perfect especially for taking client briefs as well. Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things. It's a nice way. A little bit like I alluded to when I sort of stopped the band and then started doing my own thing. The really great thing, like with this, is being able to flex those muscles, like, and do the thing that I really love, which is getting in a room essentially and writing a song.
Yeah.
But it not being the pressure of, oh, I've got to release this as my own thing.
Yeah.
Like, and again, that sense of that idea of collaboration, I think definitely up until now, all of my songs that I've released to this point have been written solely by me. But through this process over the last couple of years of working with them, like, I definitely would like to do more. I think some writing with other people.
But
for my
that is
own
very
thing.
collaborative, isn't it? So you're realising, without all the logistics of getting you all round on tour or whatever, and turning up at a band rehearsal, you're there for work.
Yeah.
I mean, what a brilliant thing to work with, to get a job that complements what you're doing.
Yeah, and it is really great because it keeps your mind focused, and it's still a creative role kind of thing. But also as well, you get being on the brief take side of it, you just get to talk to a lot of people about music, which I love doing as well. So, and you get to go off and listen to lots of references.
I'm going to say it must give you a really broad thing of listening to other genres.
Yeah, exactly, which I wouldn't probably otherwise do.
Yeah, not the time as much as anything. So that's brilliant. And also, you said about how you play the drums, but on your own music, but you're putting in percussion rather than a full drum kit. But I know that you also play in another band. You do play in a band. And it's a rock and roll band. So how did that come about?
For many, so I've learnt drums from sort of early teen years, and played in bands, drums for a few bands and things like that throughout my school years. But then really never, because I was in this band, the October Game, and I was the sort of rhythm guitar player, principal songwriter, singer. I didn't have time to do any drumming outside that. So I just found myself wanting to play but not having an outlet kind of for it. And again, when I got back from my time away, sort of traveling and working abroad, and realizing this, music's something I can't step away from, I just thought, well, it'd be great to kind of, to play kind of thing. And again, because I wasn't doing my own thing at that point, I was like, it just kind of be fun just to get in a band and stuff like that. And I happened to meet these guys on like joinmyband.co.uk or something like that were after a drummer.
So you've been with it quite a while then?
Again, so that was another funny thing. So I've been with them twice essentially. So we gigged, I think, for a while, but then basically when my music was getting busier and busier and busier, I was having to let them down more frequently. Yeah. And then basically the pandemic happened. So they basically stopped as a band. And then it was a few years ago, they were thinking about getting the band back together, and they said, would you come back? And I said, well, I'm still doing my own stuff, but like if,
make it work.
Yeah, and if you can get the dep every now and again if I can't do a gig and stuff. And they were just like, yeah, okay, let's get the band back together. So, but yeah, I really love it. It's
do they do original stuff and covers?
No,
or just all covers.
All covers. All covers.
All rock and roll.
It's all rock and roll. So it's all kind of we don't do any sort of Mersey beat or anything like that. It's all like Chuck Berry, Roy Orbison, Buddy Holly, Elvis, Dion.
And what's the name of the band?
Go Johnny Go.
I mean, obviously
Chuck Berry. But yeah, it's really great fun. It's a lot of the music. I think they were astonished when I first met them that this young guy knew like all the words to all of this music, but so much of it was what I grew up on with my dad. I mean, songs like "Shaking All Over," by Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. I mean, I knew that song back to front. I knew exactly how to play it on the drums. I knew all the Everly stuff. I knew all the harmonies, so I could sing them with the singer. So I think they were really blown away, and I just love that music so much. Like,
and that's also, it sounds like, because you grew up with it, it's almost like a second response to do that. It's not taking a lot of time to practice, to having to learn them from scratch. No, definitely not. How
and it's a pleasure as well. And it's a pleasure. It's really weird with the rock and roll band. I almost feel like we're going out and spreading the gospel of rock and roll. It's kind of, I almost see it as like our mission to because it's just such fabulous music. And I think, we're really fortunate. We do a lot of sort of social clubs and kind of small, sort of some of them are like old cinemas that have been converted and stuff like that. But yeah, some of the gigs, we're really lucky that a lot of the people come and they're wearing like the rock and roll dresses and they can really dance and they're throwing each other around and stuff. So yeah, I mean, obviously some other places just the nature of the sort of, I guess, the era of the music, sort of older audiences, but just to see them, you sort of get this glimpse of, you know, they'd have been dancing to that music in their kind of, you know, 20s kind of thing, or their teen years, and it's a really beautiful thing to have that connection with that music, which means so much to me because it was such a big part of my childhood,
and hopefully keeps it a little bit alive as well.
Yeah,
because it can be lost in
and
things,
it's just really good fun, and I love playing drums, so it just gives me it's kind of the ideal outlet really for that.
Yeah, it all comes together in a really lovely way. Now, let's play another one of the singles from the album. This is going to be Ends.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say more about this, or what you were looking for the video?
Yeah, it was. So the song again is another one that kind of like, I guess, touches on the kind of themes of kind of like the album really was kind of came out of the time, sort of a bit of a tough time, and it was around really the release of my first album that I lost a couple of friends of mine, one of whom was Steve, who put me forward for my first ever gig, and had played such a big part in encouraging me to kind of pursue my own music, really sadly, and another friend of ours passed away around the same sort of time, which was much less like expected. Steve had been ill for a while, so it was kind of something we knew was coming. Our other friend was completely out of the blue, and I think both in different ways really shook us. And I think I just found myself pondering a lot, I think, on their lives and on my own mortality and the mortality of the people that are still around, and you know, not in an overly morbid way, but just in a kind of like, I think, trying to find a sense of acceptance, and I think Ends probably, I'd say that song is acceptance. It's the trying to kind of find that kind of acceptance that kind of everything comes around in the end, and kind of thing, and kind of we chose like a lot of the songs on the album like have like symbols kind of thing in the artwork, and that's kind of the infinity kind of logo again, because it kind of, we felt it really represented kind of what the song was about, and it's the chorus lyrics especially are sort of kind of play out, well, sort of explore, I guess, that idea of acceptance, and that idea that things move on, but they also remain, kind of thing as well. And it's quite funny actually doing the video, because we realised like kind of halfway through, it's funny how sometimes you perform things, and we did it, and I was kind of like, almost some of the meanings of the song kind of like, when you stood there singing it like 100 times in a row, there were almost like other levels of meaning which didn't, like, that I'd kind of not really, hadn't almost like fully sunk in kind of thing. So that was really interesting to do the video, and you'll see it's like a performance take. We chose to keep it super simple, but Matt actually ended up using some footage that he'd shot in the Lake District many years before and didn't have a home for, and so we decided to play around with projections and projecting that upon the performance.
So this is Ends.
Far you will go, reaching for what still you do not know. There's an end inside there. Time carries on, relentless passing long after you're gone. There's a need to fight it, but there's a dawn each day before you're born, and you never glide with edges torn, and I will see where the mortal spring meets fledgling wing, and I'll never need for another thing where all of these ends will meet, where all of these ends will meet in silence, calling back to me.
that was Ends from the latest album. Now you're currently touring that album, and how's it going for a start?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so it's just a small run of headline dates. But yeah, done sort of 4 out of the 5 so far. Been fantastic. Yeah, the Harrison in King's Cross in London, and then did Mary Street Live in Sheffield, LTB showrooms in Coventry, and then Wax and Beans record store in Bury.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, they've been really lovely.
Yeah. It's quite nice. It must be quite nice going round to various places and getting similar different reactions from people.
It's been
see how people take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a mix, sort of like there's been some people at the gigs that have been sort of following me for years. There's been sort of some completely brand new people that have either heard, sort of me on the radio perhaps, or like sort of in some of the publicity sort of coming towards the gigs, and then other people that just follow the venues and go and sort of just see what the venues are putting on, really. But no, just been some just lovely venues, lovely audiences. Yeah, really good fun.
Yeah, and so what's coming next?
So I've got the Cambridge gig, which is going to be at the J3 on Friday the 12th of June.
Oh yes, brilliant. And that's Melody Cole's supporting as well.
Coles,
so, excellent.
Yeah, so that's going to be a really lovely night. And then I've got sort of a co-headline gig at the Bishop Stortford Acoustic Club at the South Mill Arts Centre, and then some like various sort of festivals.
And you're playing Cambridge Folk Festival.
Cambridge Folk Festival, and then I've also got some other festivals across the summer as well. And then I'll perhaps look to do another small run of headline dates in the autumn. Yeah,
and then you're not already starting writing for another album yet? Or you having to give yourself a little bit of
It's
downtime?
Funny, I'm just because it's been the build up to the album with the various singles and then the album release and then the gigs, it's just starting to go now. I'm just starting to think, because I've got a couple of weeks now before the Junction gig, and then the festivals and various little gigs are quite spread out over the summer. So I'm actually really looking forward to digging into all those unfinished ideas and then just seeing where it goes next. So I find this bit like one of the most exciting parts of the process, because again, I don't know like what's coming.
As things start brewing.
Yeah, it's just that idea that you've got lots of these little things bubbling away, but you don't know quite what direction you're going to go in, sort of thing. So
if
I'm looking
that's
forward to
the
that.
favourite bit of the creative process, is there bits that you don't like? I mean, I feel like maybe it's a mean question to ask, because we all.
No, I think sometimes it can be
harder.
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be. Sometimes what can be a real challenge is if you've got an idea which you think is a great idea, but you just can't finish it to the standard at which you want to make it. Sometimes you can have a great song title, and then you write the song and the song's rubbish, or or you just might be a few lines off of completion, so the song's like really nearly there. That can be really frustrating. Yeah. But
you do some and you get right the way there, then they don't fit with the others, and then have you had to abandon songs?
Well, I mean, there's an awful lot that haven't made it onto something, again, because once I get kind of a general idea of where I want it to go, there are some that just in my own head just don't fit with that collection of songs, so they just get put to one side. And for whatever reason, there are some songs which didn't feel right for the EP, didn't feel right for the first album, and didn't feel right for this second album. So whether they'll ever see the light of day, I'm not sure. But
do you go back to them ever? Or
I'll go back and listen to them.
See if they will. Or you can change.
Yeah, exactly. And like a couple of years ago, I started like a Patreon page.
Oh right.
So again, like a lot of those like demos and things like that, I'll share with them. And again, it's a really interesting way of going back and sort of forcing you to. Because I'm not recording them sort of properly and going into a studio and paying out, it's actually quite a good way to audition songs without having to play them live. You can sort of just put it out there, and sometimes you don't really know how you feel about a song until you share it, kind of thing. If you live with it too much, you can be too much in your own head. But I think the moment you put it out there and you let other people hear it, sometimes you go, oh, that wasn't great. Or you might think, actually, I think that's got something, and it's worth maybe revisiting.
Yeah. And is there anywhere, if you were looking forward to the future, 3-5 years time, is there anywhere that you're thinking, I really want to aim for this, or I want to have another album out this, or is it just kind of more fluid?
Yeah, I'd say as I say, I'm really happy and proud of everything I've done up to this point. So I'd say just if I can just keep it going, just keep it sustainable. You know, it's tough. It's a tough climate out there to make music in a sustainable way and not sort of lose too much money. So I think it's just really the aim really is just to keep it sustainable, keep it enjoyable, keep feeling like I'm challenging myself artistically, creatively.
And you said about collaboration potentially in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and just growing. You know,
Is there any festivals though that you'd like yourself that you'd love to be like to see yourself at?
I mean Glastonbury's it's the best festival I've ever been to.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would be huge, obviously.
But sometimes there are ways in and these things, aren't
exactly.
they? So,
but no, I mean, to be honest with you, for me it was a massive thing when I played Cambridge Folk Festival, you know, and that's such a beautiful festival, and I'm so delighted to be back there this year. So no, I just love having dates in the diary. You know, I look forward to all of them. They're all sort of special in their own way, kind of thing. But yeah, just to do more of it. To, you know, as I say, going out, sticking my gear in the back of the car and driving somewhere new and playing music is always thrilling. So. And
one question I didn't ask you earlier, but I think it's kind of relevant still now, is do you think your sound has evolved or changed in any way, or do you think it's similar but you just done more of it since like that first EP to now? I
think the sound is the overall sound. It really at its core and principally it's my voice and guitar. But then I think I'm getting better as a songwriter. I think the songs generally it's funny because you don't know if it's like necessarily like a quality thing or if it's just I'm writing because you're writing songs reacting to kind of where you are at that point in time. So it might not necessarily be that they're better; they're just more relevant to where you are at that point in your life. So you feel like, that's obviously better than that, but not necessarily. But it's not necessarily a quality judgment. It's more just like difference. They feel the songs like when I play songs from the first EP, like I'm still really proud of them, but they don't necessarily feel like I'm not in that space anymore. I wrote them a long time ago, so I was kind of it was a different point in my life. Whereas the ones that are on the most recent album, they are reflections and kind of like of things that have happened quite recently. So I guess they still feel quite raw and quite visceral and relevant, I guess, emotionally. And how did then you work out set lists when you start getting more and more songs? I haven't asked anyone this before, because how do you choose like which ones to keep in? Because especially if you're touring with a new album, you can't generally play the whole album. No. Because people will be like, hang on, don't give us all the new stuff straight away. We want that, whatever it is that they love. I think first and foremost, I'm a massive music fan. I make music and always have done, but I'm a massive music fan. So I think I almost think about it how if I was going to a gig by an artist that was doing a new album, like kind of what would be the balance that I'd be happy with, kind of thing. And I think as well, I think it's getting that balance of, because I've gigged the first EP a lot, and then I gig the album a lot, you kind of know which songs work particularly well live. Right, okay, yes, of course. So it's like, well, then you just play the ones that were particularly worked well live and got a good reaction, kind of thing, like were quite immediate, I guess, from those, and then kind of it mixed in with, the majority of stuff from the new album. But I guess also trying to work out which ones you're going to play from the new album. Yeah, exactly. I guess having Dear Wife, Louise there will... okay, that's easy. Then you'll do one that you're going to do with her. Yeah, and obviously, I guess the reason that you kind of pick the singles that I released are because you feel that they are like perhaps the most immediate, or the songs that are going to get the sort of quickest reaction that people can kind of digest quickest, kind of thing. Yeah. And I guess that kind of would be. And I cut across you then, but you were saying you love. I don't know whether you. Oh yeah, like in the same way as like curating an album, like I love curating a set list. Oh, cool. I love thinking about, and again, then that the picture becomes really quite sort of rich in terms of the lyrical themes and where you can go in a set, kind of thing, and playing with those highs and lows, which I like to do. So I love writing set lists. It's always really good fun. Yeah, that's brilliant. Now, I've been asking this to everybody, but do you have any advice that you'd give to your younger self looking back, or maybe to young artists that are starting now? Yeah, I mean, this would be to both my younger self and to anyone else. Like, just trust your gut, just 100%. Like, there's no one like you. Like, you know, just whatever feels right to you, just make it sustainable if you can, because it's a hard, you know, it's, as I say, it's not, you know, it's not for the faint-hearted, writing and recording and releasing your own music. And I think you just need to find a way, as I say, that's sustainable, that you can continue doing it over a long period of time to not kind of burn yourself out. But ultimately, on a creative and artistic level, just be as true to yourself and as you can.
Yeah, that is very good. I think a lot of people need to just keep that, and then, you know, the rest will come, won't it? And is there any artists around? I think you've mentioned Amelia Coburn that you'd like to collaborate with, but any artists that you'd like to recommend, or you think that we should check out and we might listen to in case we haven't heard of them?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Dear Wife sort of was such like a big part of the new album. And I'd also shout out to the brilliant artists that I've had sort of playing with me, obviously, like Melody Coles and Dodo Bones that were with me in Sheffield, and Antonia Kirby as well. She's a brilliant songwriter from Warwickshire, and Colin Anderson as well, who's a brilliant poet from up sort of Somerset near Bury as well. So
brilliant.
I've sort of, it's been really magic. They're all people that I've had like a close connection with or played with before, and so I'd thoroughly recommend going and checking all of them out.
Well, before we finish, we are going to play another song, but I want to thank you now for such a lovely chat and finding out more about it. Now, we're going to do Full Moon, which is taken from the album, but you explain what it's kind of what it's about, but why the audience participation that you've had to you've created.
So the song the song is called Full Moon. It's probably the most rocky kind of moment on the album. It's kind of about the dangers of, I guess, of greed and kind of the kind of blind pursuit of what we want without really thinking about the danger it could cause to us or other people. And
the video is really it's a whole like a cinema story in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Again, please do check out the video. Which you're going to see.
But it's got they are dancers, aren't they?
They were both members of the former members of the English Youth Ballet. So I was really amazed that we managed to get them sort of in the video. Matt had worked with them previously on a shoot, and they just did a fantastic job of all of them involved interpreting the song in that way. Like, it was really, really interesting.
But explain the audience participation so that people know if they come and see you anywhere, they know that they can. If they want to, they can really get into this.
Yeah. So on the album, I always had the idea, it's got this quite big sort of outro, and I kind of thought, wouldn't it be brilliant to get this some like really high pitched kind of Kate Bush-esque banshee wailing, howling at the moon type thing. And a friend of mine, Orion, she's the only person I've ever known who can cover and absolutely smash a Kate Bush song. And so I was like, she's the one like to do this, and she did. She came in and did an amazing job of it. But unfortunately, she doesn't come around and do the gigs. And the first time I played it was up at the Caister Arts and Heritage Centre. It was the first time I'd ever played the song live, and I kind of was recounting this story about having, inviting my friend to do these kind of banshee wailing and howling at the moon. And this gentleman just piped up in the audience and with the most fantastic like wolf howl. And I was just like, well, she's not here, but you guys go for it if you want. So we got to the end of the song, and the audience still started howling. And so the next night in Durham, I tried it on the audience again, fully expecting it to fall completely on its face. Yeah. But again, everyone got involved, and I feel like and everyone came up to me afterwards and sort of said, it felt really good to kind of get that out of my system. So it's kind of become the kind of group therapy part of the set. Yeah, it's howling therapy.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Luke. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we're going to play Full Moon now.
Thank you very much for having me. Cheers.